So how to grow your business by 13 to 26%. So we spent the last couple of years, it's been a while since we've sent out any videos, but we spent the last couple of years working on this, and I've got some results I wanted to share with you that I'm hopeful to get your attention and things you might think about putting your plan together for 2022. And I wanted to start out with an example of a client situation and what we've done to help them grow their business that I thought might get your attention. So let's start with this. So obviously everybody in the space here knows the importance of selling security, but I want to have you think about it in a way you may not have thought about it. And let me just blow this up a little bit so you can see the details. So here's an account that one of our clients has that's paying about $5,600 a month for the MSP work. So we were able to add another $9,750 to their monthly recurring payment and put them, because of our security program, and get a gross profit somewhere around 65% just on security work alone. And this is not your typical security stuff, and I'm going to show that to you here in a second. Now I started out with what's called a security maturity level assessment, which they paid about $5,000 for. The remediation work was $75,000, and the ongoing SOC work is $2,300 a month. Now what we did was amortize all this so they can do it all in one payment, and they got their payment to somewhere around $15,000 a month. So this was the exciting part about this for them, but at the same time, the stickiness that it gave the client with respect to MRR on a monthly basis around security was phenomenal. This is a financial services company, so they had some requirements they had to deal with anyway. So I want you to think about, now in this example, the growth is 30+% on this one account. So imagine if you had, within your existing business today, you had 10 accounts like this, and this is a 45 user plus environment. So if you've got some larger accounts, these numbers get much, much larger. So working off the 45 user example, you're at 85 to 100,000 a month in MRR if you get 10 of your accounts to get into this program with you, and well over $1 million in revenue. Now, how do you go about doing this? So if you want to go get new business, which is what you need to do doing a program like this, it starts with teaching your salespeople how to sell security maturity level assessments. How do you sell those? What is it? You don't teach them necessarily about security. You teach them and the SDR teams how to sell security maturity level assessments, because the assessment leads to remediation, which leads to SOC work, and that's how you make a lot of money. That's how you make a lot of money. And you don't do this with just getting yourself a whole bunch of security tools and software applications and things like that. That's not how you do this. This has got to be based around the NIST framework and based around the CIS, Center for Internet Security Controls. That's the program you're looking for that has credibility. Because if you try to do it any other way, it's not the same thing. It's not some of these, I see some platforms out there today and tools that folks are buying and calling themselves a security firm. That's not it, and they're not even certified, and you need to be certified to be credible. Now, I will tell you, if you haven't thought about this, you really need to, because I sit on calls every single day with MSPs being audited by MSSP, and the MSSP saying to the owner, or the owner saying to the MSSP going, well, these guys clearly aren't taking care of us. Can you find me a certified MSP or MSSP that can take care of this work for me going forward? And a lot of times that's what we've had to do. But how do you find the business? There are obviously compliance verticals out there that have to do this type of work. Specifically, if you don't know, I wanted you to be aware of the one that I'm most excited about, where we spend a lot of time on, is through the Department of Defense. There's 400,000 plus contractors across the United States that sell to the government. They all have a mandate for CMMC certification by I think it's 2025. And that date's jumped around a bit, but these folks have to get this work done. They don't really have a choice. So if you're one of those verticals, this is a big deal to you, and you have to pay a lot of attention to it. Now let me give you an example of one. And this is the best example, and it's the one that I like because it's a really small example, a small account. 11 users. When we engaged this guy, he had no IT people at all. He had someone that came around every now and then and worked on their stuff. Now here's the best part about DoD, and I want you to think through, if you aren't doing business with these guys, you might want to think about it. His assessment was $15,000, the grant covered it, the government's paying for it, so that was awesome. The remediation for $75,000 also paid for by the grant. So he has a SOC agreement and an MSP agreement for $4,200 a month, and he couldn't be happier because he was at risk of not getting paid by the government if he didn't do anything to take care of this. So if you haven't thought about going to this vertical, you might want to think through that because it's very exciting and a lot of folks in that space. So I hope this information gets your attention because it's important, clearly, if you're looking to grow your business. But I want to tell you, because I've been in the space a long time, as most of you know, I've been in the industry 25 plus years, and all the way back to the MSP days. This reminds me of folks going from break fix to MSP and how difficult that was. Well, this is more difficult, but I got to tell you, if you can get into the security assessment business, the remediation business, the SOC business, it's going to change the profitability of your business. And by the way, you kind of don't have a choice because they have something out there called, and you may get this if you haven't gotten it yet, you get a request from your client that says, do you have an independent audit report? And that's where you get in trouble. They're going to ask you to evaluate your security profile as an MSP, and they're going to have an MSSP doing it. And if you don't do that or pass that properly, you might end up losing your account. So you really got to get into security at the next level. And that's something that we've seen in the last couple of years, and the numbers and the profitability is essentially out of control. And there's a lot of business out there. The marketing is not, super hard to do, but you've got to train the salespeople, you got to train the SDR, and you got to get the marketing right, as you always know. Thanks for your time today, Gary Beecham, CEO SPC International. Thank you.